Hi everyone and welcome to Toxiscandia, stories of a toxicologist living in Scandinavia. I have been living in Nordic region for over 12 years. For 9 years I have lived in Finland, then for a couple of years in Sweden, and now over 2 years I have been living in Norway. And this video is to start my story on how I first moved to Finland and to tell you about my long and non-direct way to toxicology as well. So if you are interested in these topics, please continue watching. First of all, if you by any chance speak or understand Russian, I address you to my Russian channel, which I have had for almost 4 years and which has a massive amount of content on topics of Scandinavia, Nordic region, and also toxicology and medicine. So if you are interested in that and if you are able to speak or understand Russian, you can also use that channel, and I will post a link in the first pinned comment. So go and check it out. So my story of living in Scandinavia and getting into toxicology is quite a long story, so I will divide it into several videos, and this first one will be about my first move to Finland and how it happened, why it happened. And then a bit later I will tell you about Sweden and Norway as well. And this channel will also have some content on toxicology and medicine, topics that I am especially interested in. So stay tuned for more content. I am originally from Russia, from a city called Kazan, which is 100 kilometers from Moscow to the east. And it is not Siberia yet. It is 2,000 more kilometers to the east to get to Siberia. So it is actually European part of Russia still. And Kazan is a beautiful city which has over 1 million inhabitants. And it has an ethnic minority called Tatars. I am also half Tatar and I speak Tatar. And this minority is historically Muslim. So the whole region is a combination of Muslim and Orthodox culture. You can see it everywhere in architecture, in different places. So if you are interested in this kind of stuff, I would definitely recommend visiting Kazan if you are by any chance in Russia someday. So I was born and raised there, and then I spent 5 years studying in Moscow, and I studied Russian literature and language. I became a linguist and a teacher of Russian literature and language. And my story of moving to Scandinavia actually starts there because I was actually studying Finnish language as a main foreign language when I was there in the university. And when I was about 20 years old, I had a chance to go to Finland as an exchange student, and I came to Helsinki, spent 4 months there. And by some lucky chance, I met my future husband there, who is also Russian, who is from Moscow, and who was also on an exchange there, exchange semester. We met in Helsinki, spent the semester there, and then came back to Moscow. I finished my studies, I graduated, and my husband Ivan is a bit older than me, like 3 years older, and he was already doing his PhD there at Moscow University, but he always wanted to do a European PhD as well, so he applied to enter doctoral studies in Helsinki, and in 2011 he got in. And we moved to Helsinki together. We actually had to get married for that because we were not married, we were not living together. So there was no way to prove to Finnish government that we are a couple. So we had to get married. 5 months later, we actually moved to Finland. It was September 2011. And for me, it was, of course, very exciting because I was studying Finnish. I spoke Finnish, although not very well. And I wanted to find a job in Finland, in Helsinki, where we were living. And I was very determined to do that. And I started from day one, and I spent a lot of time trying to find a job. And I had some interviews. I also had some part-time jobs as a tutor, as a teacher of Finnish and Russian language. This all was very exhausting, as I must say. And first 6 months when I was there in Finland, I actually got an anxiety disorder because of that, because I was so unsure of my future, and it was so hard, this job seeking, and it didn't actually bring any results. So it was hundreds of applications sent and nothing. This is partially because of a lack of work experience in Finland. So I just moved from Russia and I have just graduated, so I didn't have any work experience there in Finland, and everything that I did in Russia didn't actually matter. And there was a lot of other people with Russian background who applied to the same jobs as I did, because there is a huge minority of Russians in Finland, because it's a neighboring country. And of course, it was difficult for me to try and find a job. I see it now from where I am, but back then, of course, I tried and nothing good happened. And after several months of trying, I actually was so tired of doing that, and I even wasn't sure that I wanted to teach Russian or Finnish. I actually was quite sure that I didn't want that. So at some point I tried to explore other options, and of course I thought about going to study. First of all, I thought of studying the same things that I studied there in Russia, just to continue or to get a master's degree or something. But at some point I realized that I don't have to do the same thing. Now I am free to do everything that I want. And back then, education for everyone was free, higher education in Finland. So I could just go and start studying anything I want. I just had to get in. And at that point, I tried to remember what I was actually interested in my life. And I remembered that since I was a child, I was very interested in medicine and medical stuff. But I never wanted to work with patients, not at least on a daily basis. So I was thinking about what I could do in this field, like something that is more analytical, not that much related to patient work. So I went to the website of University of Applied Sciences, which is called Metropolia, and started browsing all the programs that they had. And I also wanted to study in Finnish to brush up my Finnish to the better level. And I thought that studying in a language that you are actually learning is a very beneficial way to learn it better. So I had like 3 criteria: medical stuff, not too much related to patient work, and in Finnish. So program should be in Finnish. So I tried to browse all the programs they had in Metropolia, and actually in alphabetical order, one of the first ones, maybe even the first one they had, was biomedical laboratory science. So this immediately caught my attention. I went into this tab and started reading on it and what this program included, what kind of job opportunities you could have after. And it actually clicked, because I knew immediately that this is something that would definitely suit me. So I decided almost immediately that I want to do that. And one of the reasons, of course, was also the excellent job opportunities that biomedical laboratory scientists have. And this was a bachelor degree in University of Applied Sciences, which will be very important for the next part of this video, where I would tell you about me moving to Sweden, which has a bit different educational system. So in Finland, there is university, which is academic, and University of Applied Sciences. So I was interested in something applied. So I actually wanted to go to the University of Applied Sciences. And this is a bachelor degree, Bachelor of Healthcare. And it lasts 3.5 years. 3 years of theoretical stuff and half a year of practical training, which is distributed over this 3.5 years. And this sounded just excellent. So I went into that. So I was really excited, and I started to prepare to get into, because my Finnish was not that good. And I had to read a book to prepare for the exam. And I actually had to write down all the words that I had in that book. And it was almost 1,000 new words that I had to learn. It's not only medical terms, but even like normal words that I didn't know. My husband checked on me like every day. I learned 10 more words. And he was giving me like a small test on these words. So it was quite a long and tough process. But in the end, I passed the exam really well. So I only had to pass this exam, which lasted one day and had different parts, like some math, some chemistry, like very basic stuff, then reading an English article, understanding it and answering questions, also an oral interview. So it was a long day. So I passed and I got into this program, and it started, and I realized that it is actually more patient related than I thought, because in Finland, biomedical lab scientists, those who work in the lab, also quite often go and draw blood samples from the patients. Those who work in healthcare centers basically do it on a daily basis. Those who work in the hospitals do it from time to time, but still it is really patient related. So when you are involved in this blood drawing business and taking other samples. So I actually had to do my best to brush up my Finnish, to try understand what people are talking about, and of course studying anatomy in Finnish, which was completely ridiculous for me. So I had to learn all the organs and systems in Finnish, like basic stuff that every Finnish person knows from the childhood. I didn't know, so I had to do it from the scratch. And we did some training with patients. So at some point I realized that I'm getting really fluent in Finnish. And also I was getting a lot of experience speaking to people. After the first year of studying, I already had a summer job taking blood samples in a healthcare center. So I was able to work like after the first year of my education. And then I had part-time jobs working alongside my studies, and it was actually very useful experience. I also had some really tough jobs in some hospitals, taking blood samples from very sick patients that had very difficult blood vessels, blood veins that I couldn't really find. So it was like a lot of hard work, I should say. Also waking up very early, because drawing blood in hospitals starts at 7 a.m. So you have to be there at 6:30 sometimes. There was also a lot of clinical lab stuff, of course, like clinical microbiology, pathology, immunology. So everything we studied really carefully and had a lot of training. So I really felt nice about what I was doing. I graduated in 2015. By Christmas, after that, I got my first job, which was in a private clinic lab, which included a lot of patient work. So this was actually like a year of my life, talking to dozens of people every day, which is quite much for me, I should say, and also doing some lab stuff, like some urgent tests that people needed there at the clinic. So first year I did that, and then my dream was to get into microbiology lab. I was really into microbiology, working with bacterial colonies, with bacterial samples. After a year at the private clinic, I saw an announcement that microbiology lab, the biggest one, the most central one there in Helsinki, it was hiring people for shorter time periods, like half a year or a year. So I actually applied. I was ready to leave my permanent position to go there. And I got a job there in the microbiology lab for 1 year. So I went there. I ended up working there for almost 4 years till 2020. And this was an amazing job that I really loved, because I was really passionate about microbiology and bacteriology. I worked in bacteriology unit, also in mycology unit, dealt with fungi. So it was all really exciting for me, like dealing with patient samples, growing bacteria and fungi in petri dishes, and trying to recognize what's growing there, to use different methods to try and find out the nature of this bacteria and how you could treat it with antibiotics. So it was really exciting work. Also quite tough, because we had to go to the hospital to draw blood sometimes, like once a week maybe. So once a week I had to get there at 6:30, otherwise at 8, which is still quite early for me. All this time, my husband Ivan was working his own stuff, doing PhD. He has received it in 2016, I think, and then doing some other stuff. So at some point we both realized that we want to move further, and he had to apply to some jobs outside of Finland, because academic field is not as well organized and doesn't have that much money in Finland, so you actually have to apply outside of the country. And I felt that I would like to study something new, to study further, because I only got a bachelor degree in biomedical lab science and there was no master degree. And I was thinking about what could I study. I actually thought about going to Germany. I even learned German and passed the language test, but in the end we ended up going to Sweden. And in the next part of this video I will tell you how we ended up doing that, and why Sweden, and why toxicology, that I will be studying next. So if you are interested in the continuation of this amazing story, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can also click on the notification button, then you will get a notification about my new videos. So stay tuned for the next episode. I wish you all good luck, good health, and very nice day. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire.